Welcome back to this morning on ITV. And like I said earlier on, we shall be talking about youth and technology. And joining me this morning to take a look at that and also looking at some of the things that have happened in the past and look into the future is not a person than a youth advocate, right there, Kemi Ariela, and former SA to the Minister of Sport, Youth and Sport on ICT and Technology. It's a pleasure to have you this morning.
My pleasure being here. Good morning, Mr. Tully.
Yeah, when we're talking about youth and stuff, like a lot of people assume that it has to be government, it has to be government. But now let's take a look at it. You've been involved in so many projects. You work with UNDP. You work in so many capacities when you are formerly the special advisor to the Minister of Sport on ICT. But now let's take a look at globalization. How Nigerian youth taking advantage of globalization in improving themselves.
So I like what you said. So I've worked in the capacity as SA Youth and ICT to the Minister of Youth, and also SA to the Minister of ICT. Okay. For the first 4 years, and so I've had a lot of experience in the ICT space and how the young people connect to it. And I would say I commend Nigerian youth because they do everything that they can to ensure that they're up to par with their peers on a global scale. What I love that's taking place now is you find a lot of young people domiciled here in Nigeria, but taking up jobs on a global scale. So they're doing a lot of remote jobs. It's something that's growing a lot. So you're actually earning in foreign currency while being here. So I don't think that's a bad thing at the moment. Number one, and then number two. Even the young people create initiatives for themselves. So you see a lot of young people having girls' STEM education and fintech courses, within themselves. And I've also seen a wave lately on social media platforms where they're teaching everyone how to get more views and more likes and more interactions for your business. So you can see that the young people themselves are trying to ensure that they don't keep it just within Nigeria. They ensure that they're using all these global platforms. I've been to countries around the world where they say, Nigerian youth are so tech savvy, and I'm so proud, when I hear statements like that, and that's because they keep encouraging themselves, daily.
Okay, when you look at it, during the time when you started with the former Minister of Youth and Sport, he created so many programs, the DEAL program and stuff like that. Those programs, do you think, when you put into consideration the population of Nigerian youth, do you think those programs can be an opportunity for the youth to get engaged in other areas?
Oh, of course. The DEAL program in itself, the D spoke to DY.NG, which was Digital Youth Nigeria, and during the 4 years we were able to train 500,000 Nigerian youth in various subjects such as cybersecurity, such as even down to the fact that we even looked at the fact that not all young people in tech need to be educated, so to speak, or would I say fully educated, so to speak. So we even went into things like the tech that's involved in mobile repairs and things like that, taking it to the grassroots. But anyway, yes, being able to train people in Google My Business and things like that. And that's just like what you said, a stepping stone to the future. I keep on telling young people that this is 2023, right? Yeah. In the next 7 years, close to 30 million jobs will be obsolete. So there are a lot of jobs that we do now that will not be, the skill set will no longer be required. Yeah. And how do you keep yourself going? You need to bring tech into everything. There is tech in everything. Even if you're a makeup artist, there is tech in how you create your content after you've done the makeup. And if you don't have the right content out there, people will not access you. So, broad spectrum, young people need to ensure that they insert tech into everything that they do. And one of the things we spoke about then, my principal spoke about, a lot, was the added advantage. And the added advantage that tech gives you. So whatever industry that you're in, if you're able to add tech courses to what you're doing, it's a springboard to an immense amount of possibilities out there.
At the point in time, we had a couple of accusations from Nigerian youth and about so many things. But before that, do you think the attitude of government towards youth was the way it's supposed to be, or probably that agitations raise the consciousness of the government to realize that more needs to be done for an average Nigerian youth?
You see, in everything we do in life, we can do better. And I can assure you that government can do better. And I can assure you that even the young people can do better for themselves. But you see, there's a statement that says, "Come, let us reason together." So it's very important, and I tried to communicate this, and during my 8 years in government, I saw myself as a hub between the young people and the government, and I will carry two-way messages. So messages from the young people to the government, and messages from the government to the young people. We need to listen to each other. We need to dialogue with each other, because if we don't understand what the young people need, we cannot deliver to them what they need. And if the young people don't understand where the perspective that the government is coming from, they may not appreciate what is being given to them. I see a lot of entrepreneurship opportunities available through particular schemes, and there were a good number of young people that were not able to get paid, and backlashing on social media and things like that, which I understand the voice, but how about we communicate it in a better form? Let's put our voices together and call for a meeting with some of these our executives or our administrators and say, we the so and so group would like to come to see you. We would like to discuss this. Come, let us reason together. And then they see the intellect or the approach in the young people, which is welcoming, and it's forward thinking. So if every time we are upset about certain policies or initiatives or any doings from any sector, whether it's government, CSO, or even the private sector, we go to the streets and express our anger, we don't help ourselves. There isn't any forward balance in that. But on the side of the young people, we can understand that this wasn't a one-day thing. This is something that had built up over and over, a period of time, and they had to speak out. So I think moving forward, I think what I've learned from this, and maybe what the government too should understand, is there needs to be feedback mechanisms. There need to be ways that young people can communicate with the government, and these are effective ways that they can communicate. So not just to say, oh, we have this youth group, you can come through this youth group. No, there need to be effective channels of communication, and when things are wrong, they're able to speak out, and they're listened to, and not just listened to, but whatever they're talking about or whatever they're speaking up about is acted upon, and then we won't have such agitations. So both on the way of the government and on the way of the young people, there needs to be synergy. Come, let us reason together.
You read electrical engineering in your first degree, and you grew up in UK, and you decided to come back to Nigeria. You think there are opportunities in Nigeria? Because a lot of people are saying there are no opportunities. But you grew up in UK, you had everything you could have wanted, but you decided to come to Nigeria. Do you think there are opportunities?
There are immense amounts of opportunities in Nigeria. I love living in Nigeria. Just as you said, I spent a good portion of my life in the United Kingdom, and I can see the differences. And I won't lie, let's call a spade here. There are positives and there are negatives. But what do? You do your SWOT analysis, and you sit down and you do this your own Maslow's hierarchy of needs, and you do your own mapping out. And in my mapping out and in my processing, I see that Nigeria is better for me than the United Kingdom. Why? Because I can change the lives of so many people while I'm here. I can bring up initiatives and policies and work with the government on policies that change the lives of a lot of people. And because you see Nigeria as, we don't want to call it a virgin land, so per se, because we've started planting, and we've been planting for a good number of years. But how do we make these crops grow? How do we use the byproducts of these crops? So we're using this as an analogy. Yeah. So the byproducts of these crops, the crops that the likes of the Awolowos and the people that came before us have planted, okay, now they're starting to grow and they're blossoming. How do we ensure that these crops are put to good use? And then these crops also have byproducts. How do we make the byproducts also put to good use? You look at other countries, and you may say they've reached a plateau. You may say they're saturated, or they've reached a standstill. And your earnings there have a cap, or your influence there has a cap. But here in Nigeria, it's immense, and it's bountiful. And I encourage a lot of people that are over there as well to come back to Nigeria. And why is because studying abroad gives you a different type of education. Mm-hmm. So you have a 360 thinking kind of education. So even though I studied electronic and telecoms engineering, I think I also did project management. I also did network engineering. And that's because that's what, over there speaks to. Even while you're doing all of that, they're still teaching you how to bake cakes and things like that. And yeah. So you come with an all-rounded perspective and an all-rounded managerial type of thinking capability. And I think Nigeria needs a bit more of that. And another major thing, I think something I really noticed about Nigeria is that while I was in school in the United Kingdom, we weren't really competitive. It was as long as you win, everyone wins. But in Nigeria, you see a lot of competition. Everybody's trying to win. But if you come with that mindset, as long as if you're winning, I'm winning. If my neighbor's winning and I'm winning, and if we can bring that mindset into Nigeria that says it's not about self, it's about community, and it's not about short term. We need mid-term and we need long term. And that's one of the reasons why I work so much with the young people, because I say nothing for us without us, or nothing for them without them. When it comes to climate change, when it comes to so many things that are being discussed, they need to be part of the conversation, because we're talking long term. They're the ones that are going to be around in the next 50 years. By His grace, maybe we'll be here 60 years, and we might not be here anymore. Yeah. So it's about them. So we need to bring them into the conversation, because they bring the long-term solutions. Maybe people like us will bring the mid-term solutions, but then maybe the older ones might bring the short-term solutions. But we all need to work together. There needs to be that that meeting of minds from and then from an international perspective as well, looking in on Nigeria. So a lot of people that have this jackpot syndrome, they're looking out, but we're looking in, and we're looking at what's available here. Nigeria has one of the biggest natural resources. And that's the human resource. And that's a resource that is not yet being harnessed to its greatest possibility. So, being here and working with people is, I think, that's what Nigeria has. That's the one thing. So it's not about the weather. It's not about the food. Everyone says, what do you love so much about Nigeria? It's not the weather. It's not the food, even though that's great. But the major thing that I love about Nigeria is the people.
When people listen to your talk, your accent and everything, they assume that probably everything was set for you besides you decided to come to Nigeria, probably, and that's why you're talking like this. Do you accept that? That probably you're coming out from UK, you're back coming to Nigeria, your family must have been made up for life and stuff like that. That's why you decided to come to Nigeria. And that's why you're saying there are opportunities in Nigeria where a lot of people don't see opportunity. Is that true?
Well, it's too short a program for me to tell my story, but trust me, I have seen the depth of hell, and they say when you're going through hell, you just keep on going. And I am one of those type of people that I've been through it all. I was not born with a silver spoon. My parents are not in this country. My grandparents are not in this country. It is hard. And every day you wake up, it's a new challenge. But then you see a wall in front of you, and how do you deal with that wall? You either go around it, you go over it, you go under it, you break it down, you become invisible woman and you go through it, or you spiritually amalgamate that wall. But one way or another, you need to succeed. And you need to find the positivity in every negative situation. And that's just who I am. I'm someone that in everything that goes wrong, I have to find something positive. Coming to Nigeria, for the first 1 year I was in Nigeria, I didn't even have a house. I was literally owing hotel bills. I found a hotel that was charging me like 7,000 naira a night. I was owing hotel bills. I was going through it mentally, emotionally, financially. And luckily for me, I met the first minister I worked with, who gave me, my first break in government, and I could see myself, gradually getting there. But what got me there? Tenacity, perseverance, servitude. Knowing that this is a labor of love. It's not a labor of money. If you come in to Nigeria, or you even in the world, and your focus is money, trust me, you won't get anywhere, because you constantly be demoralized. And when you're demoralized, you're not able to achieve anything. But why not let break your happiness into bite sizes? So the first bite size is, okay, I'm going to get through the traffic and I'm going to get here this morning, and I've achieved that. And this interview is going to happen. I've achieved that. I can put a smile on my face because I've achieved 2 things today. I woke up this morning. That's one thing to be happy about. A lot of people slept last night and didn't wake up this morning. One thing that we all need to have is hope, belief in ourselves, belief in the country, and belief in the power that we all surrender to. Whether you're a Muslim, a Christian, a Buddhist, you need to surrender to some kind of higher power, whether the higher power is from within you. But you need to have hope. When there is life, there is hope. So for me, it's always been about hope. I had no silver spoon. I had no soft landing. Everything that I have no uncles, cousins, anybody. So every door that opens for me is God breaking protocol, but it's also me giving 2,000,000%. I don't give 5%. I don't believe, well, it's going to happen. No, because it doesn't happen that way for me. So I think that's it.
When you served the Minister of Youth and Sports, Sunday Dari, it was sports and youth together. But right now, under this new administration, we have youth separate, we have sports separate. What do you think government is trying to achieve by separating the youth from sport?
The youth need more focus. The youth need more focus. borderline 75 million young people. They need more initiatives. They need more funding. They need more connection to opportunities. They need someone who is going to sit at the helm of their affairs and think about them morning, noon, and night. And working with my principal at the time, I saw the struggles of trying to manage the two sectors at the same time, because sport in itself is extremely cumbersome and demanding. You have, if I'm correct, a good number of federations. Every federation is literally like a state in itself, with a president and a vice president and board members and secretaries and funding issues and player issues and international organization issues. And that's coming from, do we have about 28 federations? Or
35
federations. So you're literally a president in your own right, dealing with all of that, and then you still have to deal with the young people that need your concentration, and they need you thinking for them 24 hours a day. Young people are ever evolving. They're so innovative. They're so, they're fast. How do you keep up with them when you're dealing with, all of that? So I love the fact that the ministries have been separated, and I love the fact that we have young people there now, and they're thinking, is exactly the same way, the young people out there are thinking. So I can see a different trajectory of movement in that particular ministry, and I think that's something that the young people really needed.
In the line of this conversation, one thing that's always keep popping up is funding. When we had before the ministry was unbundled, we had issue about funding. Something that we had to go through so much to be able to get federal government to come in, the CBN bringing a part of counterpart funding to assist so many programs and stuff like that. Because we always see the youth ministry as a place where government just said to the youth associations. And there were so many issues among so many youth associations fighting among themselves, and you keep asking yourself, what are you people fighting over? Now with this current administration unbundling the Ministry of Youth and Sport, and we are focusing on youth, do you think the present funding being provided for youth is enough to cater, based on your own experience, to cater for the TMI demands of Nigerian youth?
Is there any ministry or sector in Nigeria that is oversaturated with funds? Of course not. Even the Ministry of Finance needs finance. So it's important to understand, and this is not peculiar to Nigeria. This is global. Everybody's looking for additional funding. I think what is important to note is not more of how do we get more funding, or is there enough funding, is where is the funding going? And is it being used in the manner that it should be used? So all these youth organizations, I've had many opportunities to try to bring them together, but I wasn't able to succeed. I hope the new administration will be able to do that, to get them to come together. I would reiterate my statement again: come and let us reason together. They need to come together. They need to reason together, and they need to channel this funding, into the right areas: skill acquisition, upskilling. Being in time with the current trends, the climate change trends, the ICT trends, wherever the world is going to is where our young people need to be going. It's not about having money for organizations and associations. So even if monies are coming to a particular organization or association, how are you as an organization appropriating that funding? So say money is coming into Kemi Youth Organization. What are my intentions, with that particular funding? Is it to be holding meetings across the country, and we have talk shops that have no forward-thinking initiatives or no direct impact on the young people? Or do we sit in our houses, buy 2,000 naira data and go online on a Zoom and have this meeting that we would have had physically, in the 36+1 states, and then we are not able to use the funding to develop the lives of people, because we've understood that being an entrepreneur is the way to go. I'm someone, as you know, that has multiple streams of income, and it's very important. So we're able to set up these young people in these different entrepreneurial journeys, and for every young person you set up in a valid entrepreneurial journey, who has a valid entrepreneurial mindset and is continually upgrading themselves, they're going to bring in at least 9 other people. They're going to take another 9 families out of poverty. So that's the way we need to be thinking. We shouldn't be thinking about more organizations or my organization or what organization. We need to be thinking about, okay, fine, these organizations exist, okay? The funding that is going to them, where is it going to? If you can't show me the blueprint of where the funding is going to go, and I can't see that funding is going to change XYZ million lives, then I don't think you deserve the funding.
And when you say you're not sure it's about the fund is going to change XYZ, a lot of people will think, they start seeing you as enemy. We haven't started when you say, okay, this money is not going to the right place, and you are going to stop the fund from getting there.
No.
Then people pick on you and start seeing you as the enemy of this thing. But in addition to that, when you look at the makeup of some of our youth organizations, are they properly set up in a way that can really affect the life of people?
I love what you just said now. So we're not talking about taking the funding away from the table. We're talking about working with them to find ways to make the funds work better. So even if your youth organization is not set up the way it should be, which I can't say that, but then let us do what? Come together and work on how to restructure your organization. And I'm looking at your books and you're not telling me anything that's going to be impactful. Let's work together to find impactful ideas. I'm always a fan of collaborative models. So if you don't know, you know somebody that knows. If you don't have an initiative of your own, you know somebody that has. You know somebody that's been running an initiative off their own financial back for a year or 2 years, so showing that they have the credibility, the expertise, the network, everything. And then you partner with such organizations, not to usurp their power or steal their idea and circumvent them. No, but of course to scale up whatever it is that they've been able to do with their own funding. So I would encourage youth organizations that you can get more money. It's not even the finite of what you can get. You can get more money if you just have more impactful, so I would not say innovative, impactful ideas that can change the lives of your fellow brothers and sisters.
We've been talking about training for youth to be able to meet up with growing demands and stuff like that. But there are some youths who cannot be able to access some of these things. We talk about Microsoft training, we talk about upskill training for some of these things. But there are people in the communities who don't even have access to data, don't even have a phone where they can be able to train. How do we get across to that? Based on your experience and what you've been able to do while you were in office, how do we be able to get across to people in those areas who are not exposed to these things?
Oh, so definitely the Ministry of Youth has been doing that. Okay. Everything is not online, everything is not elitist. There are programs that are run in the communities, and it's about looking at what the community needs. Each community differs in needs and wants and requirements, and going into that community and understanding. And just like I mentioned, you've got the mobile phone repair, you've got the POP, I think it's called POP, right? Training. You've got agricultural training. You've got fishery stuff going on. You've got fashion designing. I remember we went to somewhere called Odiomu. and taught them how to make bed sheets and pillowcases. So there's so much going on that level. It can be scaled up, of course. I agree with you, and I like the fact that we do have, every community has a representative. Yeah. And it's about working with those representatives, because those representatives know what the communities need. I am a fan of two-way communication. Okay. It can't just be I'm sending young people, I'm sending trainers into your village to come and train on what? I need to hear from the village heads, the leaders, the community leaders, the religious leaders, people that are there that say, this is what we need. And then we're able to send in trainers to train on those particular levels. And I do know when it came to the NYIF, which was the youth fund that was dispersed during our tenure, there were a lot of people, so the application was mostly online, and a lot of people that applied online. But I know that people went into the communities to get forms, physical forms, from these people, and a lot of their businesses got the same funding that was available online, was available in the communities. I know of some governors that even dedicated cyber cafes for people to sit there and assist, young people in registering. And I know till we left office, I think the best part of 35,000 young people received upwards of 250,000 naira for their businesses.
But talking about giving people money, I've always been because people always need money. There's no time people don't need money. Yeah. But we have instances where there are so many programs we give out money and people don't get to give back, and government don't do anything about it. And when we consider some of the kind of things we had in Western world, education, people get loan to go to be able to access loan to go to university and stuff like that, and they are made to pay back those loans. Yes. But the mentality here is quite different. People see it as their share of national cake. How can we change that mentality? Or is there a way government can be can come up with more tough sanctions to be able to make people realize that when you take loans, you pay back?
So what it was back in the day when of which you speak about these loans was because there was no tracking system. But as you know, since then, we've got the Big Brother system, which I call it, which is the BVN.
Yeah.
So now there's a BVN system, and that BVN has details of the loans that you've taken out from the government, but whether by way of a student loan, an agricultural loan, because there were a lot of loans, you know, sort of around the COVID time and stuff like that. You need to understand that there's a difference between a grant and a loan. So you come forward and you decide to take a loan from the government. In the now times that we live, you're taking that loan out with your BVN. So whether you like Jackma, you will Jackma back and the government will collect that money from you, because that's the system that's used, you know, where I grew up. And we grew up with a student loan system that was attached to your national insurance number, which is your NI number, and that's the NI number that you use to work. So every time you work and you get your paycheck, before you get your money, the government has taken their money out of it. So having that system, having that BVN system, enables the government to track whatever loans you have. And I know that there are very robust payment systems that have been developed in order to retrieve these monies. And this was one of the reasons why the Ministry of Youth did not disperse this money personally. It didn't come out of the Ministry of Youth's bank account. You know, they worked through existing structures from the DBN, from NISHL, from existing structures that had these systems. No, it's not even just the database, it's the system in itself to say, okay, this is when it comes in, this is when it goes out, this is the moratorium period, this is the recollection strategy, because these things are strategies in themselves. If you don't have a strategy, you won't be able to do it. So the strategies exist, number one, and it's very important to know that funding must go through an existing robust strategy, and then secondly, BVN exists, so you are going nowhere.
Interesting right there. I'm talking about BVN. When you compare the effectiveness of BVN and compare to what we have, the social insurance stuff you have in UK, the effectiveness of that in being able to get to people to be able to, is there a way we can make it better in Nigeria?
Like I said, there's nothing you cannot make better. Even the NI number in the UK can be better. Do you understand? But let's remember that the United Kingdom has been in existence in excess of 450 years.
Wow.
And Nigeria, we're not even 70 yet. So, you know, let's not accept mediocrity. Of course not. But let's understand that it's work in progress. And I'm very delighted at the fact that we have the BVN, because then we were speaking about harmonization of digital identity. So everybody has various digital identities in your BVN, in your driver's license, and so many other
passports,
you know, things that people had. But now we have that digital identity is now harmonized in your BVN. So before you can get a passport, you need a NIN, your NIN and your BVN, and you know, everything. So now, even if you commit a crime, you're so easy to track, because you would want to open a bank account elsewhere. You would want to have a mobile phone elsewhere, and unless you start living like a fugitive. so yeah, the system in itself, I think there are amazing initiatives that have been introduced, and yes, definitely they can get better, and that's what innovation is all about. Innovation is about building on what exists and making it better day by day. I always say to people that the Buhari-led administration came and built a foundation, and when you see that foundation at the moment, you might not appreciate it. Because when you're building a home, for instance, and you do, is it decking? Is decking the first layer? It's the first layer, right? So you've done the decking and stuff, and anyone that comes there would not appreciate the grandiose of your architectural diagram, because they can't see that. But when you bring in the other people and they begin to build upon it, then you're able to see that, wow, this is a beautiful edifice. But if your foundation is not strong and well planned, what's going to happen? The building's going to crash. And if you don't have a foundation, you can't have a building. So it's all stages, and yes, I think the foundation has been laid, and I'm excited to see the blocks that will be built on top of it.
Okay, I won't let you go without talking about this. You know, when you first, when you came back, you dive into entertainment sector and stuff like that. Looking at how big the entertainment is, how many youths have been engaged through the entertainment sector, do you think there is more can be done? I always believe there is more can be also be done to improve the current situation of things right there. But do you think the entertainment sector is properly structured in a way that the government can be able to maximize the revenue that are coming in through it?
Of course not. it's just like sport, for instance. When I came into the sports sector, even though I didn't work much in the sports sector, but because it was attached to where I was working with youth, I learned a bit about it. And in the past, when I looked at sport, all I saw was athletes and coaches and managers, and that was what I saw in sport. And even though I used to actually write for Swan when I was in London, and I used to go to a lot of football matches, but like I said, all I saw was the footballers, their managers, and that was it. But I didn't realize that there was a whole ecosystem. You've got the medical people, you've got the media people, you've got the lawyers, there's so much in sport. The ecosystem of sport is not just about footballers and athletes and managers. You know, there's so much more going on over there, and that's the same way it is in the creative industry. In the creative industry, it is so robust, and there's so many different sectors, and there's so many people. There's you know, entertainment law, there's entertainment media, there's so exactly what exists in other sectors. So what exists in, let's call it, more structured and serious sectors like finance or solid minerals, or you know, those sectors, you have technical parts, and the same way you have technical parts in entertainment. I know it was a 48-track studio in those days. I don't know if that's what they're still using. But if you're not vast in that type of engineering, you would not know how to walk into a studio and pull out something from there. So there's so much in that industry that we need young people to tap in more and understand that it's not just about picking up a microphone, and it's not just about the kicking a football and the end monies. It's about the whole system in itself. So we need more young people to plug themselves into the system. And then what I do like that I'm seeing is I'm seeing a bit of structure. I'm seeing them coming together to try to structure themselves. What the creative industry contributes to GDP is not properly quantified because of this lack of structure. So it's essential that we bring in this so-called informal sector somewhere into the formal sector. And why I mentioned sport in the beginning, because it's the same way we were able to reclassify. I don't know if you recall, while I was working with my former principal, Sunday Diary, what we had was the reclassification of sports. It's now no longer classified as recreation, but it's now classified as a business. So you first of all need that reclassification for understanding, and then once it's understood, then you can have structures, because you can't expect people to give you policies, because you know this country, or this economy, let's call it, is knowledge based, and it's driven by policies, so to speak. So you can't have policies in a sector that people lack understanding. So let's structure the understanding, and then we can structure how the monies are coming in, how they're contributing to GDP, and how we can scale it up.
Should we have a commission for the entertainment industry, or probably have a ministry?
I believe we have a creative industry,
but not the way it's a lot of people. Because at the point in time, during the time of Goodluck Jonathan, there was a statement about giving something to assist the entertainment industry. But the entertainers feel that there's no proper, just like we've been talking about, no proper situation where you could say this is where we go to get this money. We don't have that in the entertainment industry. Everybody's just doing their own thing. But with the evolution of the entertainment industry, with the amount of money musicians are making, entertainers are making, the comedians are making, a lot of people feel there's need for us to have like a commission that's totally dedicated to all these people, who brings in those policies you talk about, and be able to let government know this is what you can also make from in this industry. Do you think we deserve something like that?
Personally feel we need to create a whole new structure for it. I think it can work under the creative ministry, but I would say that I'm not in a position to say what commission should be established and which one shouldn't. So maybe they might feel the need for that. But so let's look at this commission of which you speak as a brick wall. Are we going to go around it, on top of it, through it? Are we going to become invisible woman and spiritually move it? So this is the brick wall that we face, and now let's look for ways to ensure that these policies are put into or are driven by government. So the entertainment industry, which I know they have a good number of associations, can come together and submit skeletal policy documents, skeletal memos to the Federal Executive Council through the Minister of the Creative Industry. And it's not so much about looking for a body, looking for another association or committee or commission to do it. It's not about the description of who's doing it. It's about getting the job done. So let's have these documents, let's have these policies, let's have these initiatives, but let's not think so much about under what body or what arm of government is achieving it, you know, if it's something that even needs to be domiciled directly, you know, it will be done directly. It's not about who's governing you or who's in charge of your sector. It's about what you want to get done. I don't think there's anything you want to get done in your organization that you can't get done because you're not the director of XYZ. No, I don't think that's right.
You know, I'm saying this when I look at Abike Daviri, the commission that is in charge of. At the point in time, nobody thought that there was need for it.
Yes.
But they just like, let's have it. And she made something out of it. Now a lot of people, some of the responsibility that a lot of people thought should be handled by foreign ministry is being handled by her. And a lot of people never thought that could have been a process where that issues can be tried. That's why I'm also thinking because from the entertainment sector, we have the creative minister of private information or culture who may definitely be handling this. But I don't think they have been properly handled the way it would have been done if somebody who has an idea, who has a concept, who knows what should be done to really be able to maximize that industry, will come in and bring it to bear. That's the perspective I'm thinking.
The new minister of the creative industry has just come in. Literally, she's still finding her feet. So let's give her some time. I've seen that she has some great young people working on some amazing policies, and they will soon come to fruition, and they will soon come, you know, into the public eye. So let's give them some time to work on what's being cooked and baked in the oven, and then we can now come back to this conversation. But like I said, I don't think it's the setting up of commissions that gets work done. When you want to get work done, it doesn't matter, you know, what the structure is. You'll still be able to get it done. We can sit here and set up a commission for lights and commission for ties, and we will be effective because we will make every young man in Nigeria wear, even with your brother, you will wear a tie. You know, we can be effective, but it's not so much about having multiple commissions. And I'm not saying a commission is not needed, because people in the entertainment sector might feel they need a commission. If you do feel the need for a commission, then let's work towards, you know, requesting for it. I'm not so much in that sector anymore, so I can't really say. But what I'm saying in a nutshell is, let's try to get the work done without even having the commission. And if, you know, in the process of getting the work done, there is need for that commission, then the commission will come. But let's not put the cart before the horse. Let's just think about, so let's not even think about, is it cart before the horse or horse before the cart? Let's just think about the destination and the journey and where we're trying to get to.
And finally, before I let you go, jackpot syndrome is everywhere. People are jackpotting and you are coming back. You advise an average Nigerian youth to stay back, or considering some of the things that some of them are saying is the choice, this choice is theirs to take? What do you think of this?
You see, wherever you go in the world, there's nothing like home. And if you don't build home, what are you coming back to? So, for instance, you can leave your children at home and decide you want to go out and play with other more grown-up children, for instance. You will still come back to those children you left at home. So why not train the ones you have at home to be as amazing as the ones that you have out there? Nigeria, like I said, I won't call it a virgin land, let's say semi-virgin then. There's so much that can be done here. But if we all run away, when there's work to be done and we all run away, who's going to do the work? So your father has gifted you an expanse of land, and you've chosen to leave that and go to somebody else's father's land where that's already got bananas. You can plant your own bananas and have so much more than the 2-3 bananas that the other person is going to give to you. I'm using this analogy to bring it home. I'm not against traveling abroad. I'm not against going out there to learn, to work. And in learning, we're not just talking about education. So we're not just talking about going to school. We're talking about 360 learning. So you're talking about social, emotional, physical, learning in different spheres. But what is important is to come back and do this knowledge transfer. If you like the life out there, I personally feel you're taking away from your home, you're taking away from your natural surroundings, and you do find a lot of people that have jackpot who are really not happy. They're extremely unhappy where they are, and they just don't want to come back because they don't want to give in to that defeat. A lot of people going through some horrible conditions because leaving here, they didn't get everything tidied up neatly and nice. We spoke about working remotely. You can still be domiciled here and working abroad. You can put in, it's not easy, and I'm not going to say it is easy, but I'm also going to say that it's not easy anywhere in the world. You know, I have lived in the United Kingdom for over 30-something years, and I know it is not easy there as well. You know, there's inflation, interest rates. Everyone's going through their own. You know, there's a saying in Yoruba that says, "It's who's wearing the shoe that knows where the shoe is paining their leg, where it pinches." So, you know, you look at people in UK and think, they're living their best life. You don't know where their shoe is pinching. So, I'm not saying that they're not. You know, I can't speak for anyone. But what I'm saying is, build home. Home is always going to be your home. What happens tomorrow if the UK government, or, you know, the abroad government, let's call it that, for that overall coverage, says, you know, everybody go back home. You're still going to have to come back here. That you have underdeveloped. So why not put in, go learn, travel. I travel, as you know, I travel the job of but I love traveling because everywhere I go to, I learn something new. I would never go somewhere just to go and chill. I don't know how to do that, unfortunately. Maybe I need to learn that as well. But I go there to learn something new and bring it back to Nigeria every time. So now, you know, we're preparing to go for the COP in Dubai. And it's about understanding what's happening on the global scale when it comes to climate change and bringing it back to Nigeria for people to take individual ownership of climate change and how it's affecting us, and to understand that there are jobs available in that sector as well, but we're overlooking it. And when you're looking at, you know, jobs in that sector, you don't need to travel abroad. You actually don't need to travel outside Nigeria to earn well or to live well. You just need to apply yourself. And I will continue to say, I didn't say it's gonna be easy. Do you understand? And, you know, everywhere has its own difficulties, and Nigeria, you know, every day it's something new, but it's the same thing everywhere. It's just that everybody's problems are different.
I must ask you this: you were part of the hunger meeting in United Kingdom, in USA, where the president was there and stuff like that. What do you think some of the benefits of that meeting for our youth that you can take back home?
You know, when we went to the United Nations General Assembly, we did not have a Minister of Youth. So there weren't so many conversations tailored to youth specific. There were a lot of conversations that involved youth, but they weren't, you know, tailored to that particular sector. So one thing I do want us to understand is that there's youth in every sector. The youth exist in every single sector. So every conversation, you know, affects the young people. And every positive conversation is a positive conversation for the young people. Because like I keep on saying, 50 years time, if we're still here, it's luck. Do you know what I mean? So whatever it is that we're building, whatever positivity that Nigeria is working towards is for the young people. The truth is, anything that we're building, any structures, any infrastructure, whether it's physical or whether it's virtual, is for young people. And I just wish young people began to understand that as much as they might not have the right pickings for themselves at the today, they just need to have those plans to weave in to be able to get the right pickings, you know, sometime in the future. And one thing that I would say to the young people is that, or I would say for the young people, is that the government just creates policies. And those policies need initiatives and drivers to enable them cascade, as well as scale up across the nation. And I feel, say for instance, a particular policy has been created, then it's for us as private sector or CSO sector to work with the government to ensure that those policies are delivering benefits. So it's about, okay, government has created this particular policy, then it's for you to now decide, okay, what project can I create within that policy that will change the lives of people? So the United Nations General Assembly, you know, meeting that happens every year is to talk about what's happening globally and how we can shape it, you know, for positive impact. You know, a lot of people don't understand that last part that says for positive impact. And I'll assure young Nigerians that every positive impact is positive for us. Not for your generation.
I've been talking with TMI, a youth advocate and also a climate change expert, talking about a whole lot of things that has to do with youth, and also looking forward to other good things that may definitely happen to them, and also how we can really be able to help the youth. So we have the kind of agitation we had some few years back, and youth can know that they do have a rightful place in the scheme of things. It's been an interesting time talking to you. And I know it's going to take this much time, but we've been talking about
Thank you so much.
Interesting today. So we're going to take a quick break right now. When we come back, we'll be coming up with the last legs of the program.